Hey folks! Have you ever wanted to edit WordPress source code but aren't sure how to do so without breaking your site? Today, we're going to talk about how to edit WordPress code using various methods so that you can find the one that works best for you. If you are a beginner to intermediate level WordPress user and you want to learn how to edit WordPress code like HTML, CSS, PHP, JavaScript, etc., please keep on watching. First, make sure that you have a reliable backup before you begin making edits. Consider working on a staging or testing environment first, and then pushing your changes live. Also, use a VPN to secure your internet activity. We'll have a couple of links down in the description below about everything I just mentioned. Alrighty, so first let's talk about how to edit HTML in WordPress on an individual page or post. We'll start with using the block editor. You can use the custom HTML block to add brand new HTML. Or if you want to edit the HTML of an existing block like this one, select the options for that block, and then select the Edit as HTML option. Now you can edit the HTML just for that block. If you want to edit the HTML for that entire page, go to the Tools and Options dropdown and select Code Editor. And now you can see the HTML for the entire page. If you aren't using the block editor, but are instead using the classic editor still, you can still edit HTML very quickly, very easily. You'll notice that there are two tabs, one called Visual, one called Text, right here. Toggling on the Text tab instead of the Visual tab will show you the bare HTML for that content, and there you can edit your HTML to your heart's content. You may be wondering about editing the HTML on your homepage that appears in the form of widgets in your sidebars, footers, etc. From the WordPress dashboard, go to Appearance, and then select the submenu item Widgets. And here you can toggle to the Text tab, just like before in your widget, to edit the HTML of that widget area. And again, this is incredibly handy for WordPress sidebar or WordPress footer widgets. All right, so now let's talk about how to edit WordPress code across the entire website. So the first option is going to be to use the WordPress code editor for your theme CSS. And this area is also known as the Customizer or the CSS Customizer. And this comes baked in with your theme. To find it, from your WordPress dashboard, select Appearance from the navigation menu, and then choose the submenu item Customize. You'll be redirected to a page that has a preview of your site on one side and a navigation menu on the other side. And at the bottom of this menu, select Additional CSS. You can now edit your own custom CSS in this section, and any CSS that you add here will update your preview over on the other side, although it won't be published to the live version of your website until you select Publish. And remember that this option is specific to your theme, so if you switch themes, this code will no longer be active. So always remember to use a child theme in order to preserve all of that hard work that you've done. So the second option is to use a plugin to manage your code snippets. And depending on what sort of code you want to add and where it needs to go, you'll need to find different plugins. We recommend the Insert Headers and Footers plugin. You can find a link in the description below to that plugin. Once it's installed and activated, you can navigate to the Settings submenu and select Insert Headers and Footers. And this is going to bring you to the settings page for this plugin. And here you can paste in any code snippets that you need to use. So for example, if you're trying to install a Google Analytics snippet, you can paste it directly from Google Analytics right into the scripts in header box like this. Save your changes, and that code is now going to be active on the site. If you don't need it anymore, you simply highlight it and delete it. Or if you don't need any of the code that you've inserted into this plugin, you can simply deactivate and delete the plugin altogether. Now, this isn't just for JavaScript. You can also use plugins to add CSS instead of using the customizer like I mentioned in option 1. And I've linked a few options for CSS plugins in the description below. They all work a little bit differently, but you can basically get to the same result. New CSS snippets added to the site. Option number 3 is going to allow you to edit your code directly in the dashboard using the WordPress code editor. And in this way, you can edit PHP theme files, CSS, JavaScript, basically almost anything you want. It's added directly to the code files, and it's not dependent on a third-party plugin, which is a plus. However, this method can be a little bit more risky. There is no preview to show what you're doing, so when you save it, that's really it. Definitely make sure that you take the safety precautions that I mentioned from the beginning of this video before trying this method. To get to the WordPress code editor, start from the dashboard, select Appearance, and then the Theme Editor submenu item. If you have multiple themes installed, you can go ahead and toggle between them using this Select Theme to Edit drop-down menu. Use the links along the side to find the file that you want to edit, and just click on it to open it up and start editing. Note that you can only edit files here. You cannot remove them, you cannot add them. But once you found the file you want to edit and have made your edits, you just select Update File, and now your changes are live. The fourth option for editing WordPress code is a little bit safer than the last and provides you with much more control. With this option, you use a third-party tool to edit or write your code, and then you add it to the site using FTP. Start by downloading a free file editing tool. Now, there are quite a few good ones out there. It really depends on your personal preference, but we've linked a couple of good ones below. You will also need an FTP tool that will kind of act as the middleman of transferring the files back and forth. We recommend CyberDuck or FileZilla. For this example, I'm going to be using FileZilla. Now you have to find your FTP credentials. These can be created or found in your cPanel or site tools within your hosting accounts. All hosts are going to handle this a little bit differently, but basically once you're logged into your hosting account and have navigated to your cPanel or site tools area, go to FTP accounts. You may already have an FTP account with credentials created, but if not, it's very quick, very easy to create a new one. Add in a login name, a super secure password, and then click Create. Make sure that you save these in a safe place before you move forward to the next step. Once created, the new account will populate in a list below. You can typically create as many of these accounts as you need if you want to give different people access to the site files. And when you go to the options or actions or settings for the FTP account that you just created, you'll be able to find the host name or server name, the username, and the port. So now that you have your server, username, password, and port, enter them into the proper places. Hit connect, and you'll end up with a split screen of your files and the site's files. Now you can literally drag and drop files from your website to your computer files and vice versa. So let's move through an example. Let's download a file from the website that we want to work on. Maybe I want to edit this CSS file. So I will select it and either drag and drop it to my local environment or right-click on it and select Download. And then once it's downloaded, we can now find it on my computer and open it in the code editor. And once we've added in the snippet that we want to add, we can save it and upload it back to the website. Like I said, we can either drag it over or right-click and select Upload. The final method that we're going to go over is how to edit WordPress code files directly via your hosting account. This is similar to the FileZilla method. It can be a little bit less secure to do it this way, but it really all depends on which is easier and faster for you. In your cPanel or Site Tools area, find the icon called File Manager. And once selected, you can begin navigating the site files. Again, for this method, you do need to be somewhat familiar with the WordPress file structure so that you know what you're looking for. Using this method, you can move files around, you can rename them, you can delete them, you can duplicate them, and you can also choose to edit your files, which will open up a code editor within your browser. So go ahead and make your changes and then save, and the updated file will automatically replace the old one, and the changes will be live on your site. So there you have it, 5 ways to edit the WordPress source code for your website. Always, please remember to take safety precautions like backups before you begin editing code. Do you have a favorite way to edit WordPress source code, or is there a tip or a trick that you have for editing code? Please leave it in the comments below. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel, and we will see you next time.